Tensions run high as demonstrations sweeps across Nigeria, with violence erupting in several cities.
Tomorrow we should be able to know if the people that are coming out are still the genuine protesters.
Police urges peaceful protesters to stand down to enable crackdown on violence.
In keeping with our requirement for our scholarship recipients to be taught at the highest global levels.
Education dreams of 200 Nigerian students come true as First Lady's Renewed Hope initiative facilitates prestigious scholarship. Good evening. Welcome to Network News. I'm Ruth Aguele. Tonight, we will be going to several states across the country to get a feel of how today's demonstration impacted in those states. In Lagos, we will join Hengino John Adams for news from that axis. Ayo Deji Makinde will bring us some latest news from the world of sport. Remember, you can follow this news broadcast live on all our social media platforms displayed on the screen. The Eagle Square in Abuja today, the closest open arena to the seat of government, had its own fair share of public protest. Correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports that both the Eagle Square and the Unity Fountain, where protesters in Abuja usually converge, were empty in the morning, with only security agents stationed to ensure law and order. However, later in the day, a group of protesters peacefully marched into the Eagle Square before leaving. A group of violent protesters who later came around were denied access by security agents who dispersed them. The Eagle Square therefore witnessed little or no protests, you may add, a situation which also reflected in some other parts of the central business district in Abuja. Meanwhile, another group of protesters converged on the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, though they were restricted outside the gate. Joseph Otsen reports that the presence of security personnel prevented a clash between opposing protesters.
As early as 7 a.m., the protesters started converging on the Moshood Abiola Stadium amidst watertight security. Shortly, a counter-protest group arrived in buses, but were also restricted from coming closer by the security. From the Moshood Abiola Stadium, this particular set of protesters have now moved into the central area where they want their voice to be heard. But they are actually being guided by security personnel to ensure that it's a violence-free protest. But it appears some of the protesters are going beyond boundaries. The security personnel had to stop them from advancing further. In Abuja, Joseph Hutsen, NTA News.
And joining us right now in the studio to speak further on the state of the nation, of course, following the protest happening today, we have the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're pleased to have you. I'm sure you've monitored and observed situation across the states. How would you react going by what was prevented and what we're seeing playing out?
Well, let me start by saying that it's not a happy day for Nigeria today. We are always known as a government that a situation like this could happen, and that was why I kept appealing to these protesters that while it is their democratic right to engage in this kind of protest, we knew that hoodlums and other criminal elements could infiltrate this kind of protest, seize the occasion, and unleash mayhem and violence in our people and on the property of Nigerians. And exactly what we saw, just 12 hours of protest today, we saw how events unfolded in Kano, in Kaduna, in Borno, in Jigawa, in Niger, Sokoto, and many other parts of this country. It's indeed a very, very sad day. We knew that this was going to happen. Nigeria is a democratic nation, and we know that this democratic process of having protests are legitimate. But we also knew, like I said earlier, that it is going to be seized, it is going to, to be taken over by hoodlums and criminals, and we were proved exactly right. The president has always said there was no need for this kind of protest. He was listening to the youth who were making this kind of agitation. The anxiety was high, and government had always insisted that it was not the right thing to do. Protests are right, yes. Is it within their democratic norms? Yes. With their hardship in the land? I mean, yeah, we will also agree that there was no time that the president or government had said that Nigeria did not experience this hardship or things are not a bit challenging for Nigerians. But we knew that protests couldn't solve this problem, and today we were proved exactly right. The president, when he came on, tackled head on all those things that past administrations have been lacked the courage to embark upon, the fuel subsidy removal, the unification of the exchange rate, and so many other ambitious initiatives of the president aimed at revamping the economy, putting it on the track to sustainable progress and development for our dear nation. And we knew that, of course, this was going to come with some shocks. The president had admitted severally. We had talked about it. We knew that there were going to be issues. It was a turbulent period, we knew, and that was why government embarked on a lot of ambitious initiatives to ensure that Nigerians had both an immediate, short-term and long-term relief from those kind of shocks. And unfortunately, today it came to pass. These hoodlums infiltrated genuine protesters. You recall that government had always said, if you knew you wanted to protest, that was right to go. Come, let's know you. Let's sit down with you. Dialogue is part of democracy. You couldn't just hide somewhere and say you were going to just protest.
Okay. Honorable Minister, it's good you talked about dialogue, because even before today, we've been different groups and even the government come up and say, let's dialogue on the table. But going by what has played out today, we've seen strings of violence in some parts of the country, which was not planned for. What would be your opinion, rather? Is it at this point, should the police step in and say no more to this? Because earlier we saw the IGP brief the media, and they're placed on red alert, as we can see.
Well, it's not in my place to say no more. I think the security agencies will do an appraisal of the situation. You could see that when it started early in the day today, they were peaceful. The police, even the protesters in the early hours were commending the police for the orderliness that they have displayed. Unprecedented. I think the police had shown a great deal of maturity, civility, decorum, responsibility in the way they have conducted themselves. But somehow, we also knew that some hoodlums will take charge of the process, and that was exactly what has played out. So what we hope is that they will heed, the protesters will heed the call of government, the call of all well-meaning Nigerians to at least see reason, come down from this high horse, let's dialogue, let's discuss. It doesn't pay anyone. I mean, protesters are going to loot shops, break homes, touch offices, even at some point even trying to get access into a government house. We've seen that situation in Kano, where protesters, so-called protesters, were trying to go into Kano government house. I mean, these are no longer protests. These are violent people who were trying to, go against established procedures, going against law and order, and there's no way security agencies will continue to fold their arms. But like I said, it is within their right. It's not for me to say whether the police, whatever the police will do or not do. I think that the Nigerian armed forces, the Nigerian police rather, are properly trained. The security agencies are properly trained to keep law and order. We expect that the protesters will see reason, and the criminals that also join them will see reason and come down from their high horse. Let's dialogue. The president has always said dialogue is the way to go. I think that from what has happened in just 12 hours of this protest today, there's a renewed realization that we need to dialogue. That is the only way forward for our country.
Indeed, Honorable Minister, and if this dialogue must hold, of course, the government has to involve clerics, religious leaders, which we've seen played out before now. But at this point, going by the state nation, what would you advise?
Well, my advice is that all lovers of this country, leaders of all thoughts, religious leaders, other opinion molders, political leaders, everyone, I think this is the time for us to all unite, to come together and appeal to these protesters once again that there's no need for such. Of course, you know that the president had been engaging, government has been engaging with all stakeholders in the Nigerian project, talking to them, appealing to them, explaining to them why this shouldn't happen this way. The fear had not been for protesters as it were, but we knew, and like I've said before, we knew that something was likely to go wrong, and indeed government has been proved right. So we call on all stakeholders in the Nigerian project to join hands with government. There must be a Nigeria first before we can have good governance. We can't have good governance in a situation of violence, a situation of anarchy. And I mean, let the protesters please see reason. It's an appeal once again to them by government that they should come together. And then I'm happy that the Sultan of Sokoto and other leaders have already lent their voices to this. We hope that other leaders will continue to persuade, especially our young people, to understand that the Nigerian project is indeed a huge one that is beyond each and every individual. We must come together to have a meaningful, united country so that we can have the prosperity that the president has always talked about.
Indeed, unity and not division is our cry. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris. Thank you for your time on Network News.
It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, and still focusing on issues around the protests, well, our reporters were on ground earlier today to monitor developments in most parts of the country. We'll bring you a compilation now of the southern states of the country, how the demonstration impacted these states.
In Abuja, Lekon Abonde, who monitored the situation, reports that palpable peace and tranquility was the order of the day in Ogun State, as a number of youths came out to protest. In Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State, Olukemi Sani reports that there was relative peace in the states as residents carried out their protests across the state. In Uyo, Clement Barikiu reports that commercial activities in Akwa Ibom State was low at the start of the nationwide protests, but the situation in the city was generally calm. From Uyo, Clement Barikiu reports that commercial activity in the state was low, following the protest by some youths who are calling for an improved economy, with the situation reported to be generally calm. The situation in Calabar was different, as Paul reports that the nationwide protest did not hold in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. This, he says, is part of the state's governor, Senator Bassi Otu's appeal and intervention on dialogue with various stakeholders and statewide broadcasts to residents on the dangers of embarking on the protest. In Yanagua, Doris Akumonye reports that the protest was peaceful, even as some residents took to the streets to express their grievances, as the state governor, Duye Diri, assured youths of continuous prioritization of their welfare and development of the people in the state. From Ebonyi State, major streets and roads in Abakaliki was calm and peaceful, despite the call for a nationwide protest. Reports from Umuahia on the nationwide protest shows the ever-busy Aba Road in Umuahia was very dry, with scanty movement of people and vehicles. There was no protest, no violence recorded in any part of the city. From Oshogbo in Osun State, Femi Afariogun reports that protesters were peaceful in their conduct and some parts visited. In Benin, Rosemary Omani reports that, contrary to fears and apprehension, the protests in Edo State will be violent. However, the situation was the opposite, as protesters peacefully conducted themselves with no reported case of violence at the time of filing the report. Chinyere Okoli, who monitored the situation in Asaba, reports that residents took to the streets in peaceful manner, as residents were seen carrying placards, while in some parts of the states, some youths who were trying to disrupt the process were intercepted by security operatives who were on ground to calm the situation. Nneka Onu reports that in Aba, the nationwide protest failed to hold in the state as the commercial city remained calm as the people preferred to remain indoors. In Rivers State, the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, addressed the protesters and commended them for being peaceful, while reiterating his administration's commitment to transform the economy of the state and give the youths a true sense of belonging.
All right, let's get more insight into what played out. Lagos, let's join our correspondent Larry Belay, who is standing by now to give us insight into what played out. Larry, but earlier we had reports that the situation was calm. What has changed, between, the morning time, noon, and till now? What changed?
Well, nothing has changed, Ruth, but let's start with the security personnel today. I will call their performance today as top-notch professionalism because they played a fatherly role, guiding the protesters, protecting the protesters, protecting the communities. It doesn't look like they are policing at all. It's like they are heralding, or you can say shepherding the protesters and trying to see that they are protected wherever they go to. And I can see the CP engaging them, talking to them, so that the thing will not be violent. And the communities themselves, the communities we've gone to, from the island to the mainland, Teju, Osho, CMS, Oshodi, Ojota to Ikeja. In some communities, they are outside talking to each other. Some are sitting down in front of their shops. It was a slow start at first in Lagos State, but everything is peaceful, everything is calm. While we are leaving some of the areas, it was almost they are dancing. Although they call it a demonstration, but they are dancing. And that's the funny thing about it here in Lagos, Ruth.
All right, Larry, of course, eyes were on Lagos, but we're glad to hear that it was peaceful there, going by what we've seen. Thank you so much, Larry, and please stay safe out there for us. All right, our correspondent there from Lagos giving us update. But the national chairman of Phase 2 delegates in the Presidential Amnesty Program and the immediate past All Progressives Congress candidate for Bumadi State constituency in the 2023 general elections, Kingsley Muturu, has disclosed that all Phase 2 ex-agitators will not be participating in the nationwide protest. This is coming on the heels of an appeal made by the administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Dr. Dennis Otuaro, a joint emergency meeting with Phase 2 and 3 ex-agitators in Warri. Kingsley Muturu said he and other ex-Niger Delta agitators believe the protests are framed by persons with ulterior motives, and there would not be part to any confrontation capable of sliding the country into anarchy. He says as ex-agitators of Phase 2 of the Niger Delta Amnesty Program, they are enjoining other youths in the region to join the administrator of the Amnesty Program to pursue the good policies and programs of President Bola Tinubu. All right, we want to get more insight to other parts of the country. We head to Port Harcourt now. Let's join our correspondent Robinson Derataide, who is standing by. Robinson, you follow development there. We saw the governor in the report compiled. We saw him addressing the youths and giving them assurance again. But tell us, what did you observe?
Yes, the protest was very peaceful in Port Harcourt. And the good thing is that they didn't protest outside the Port Harcourt metropolis. The whole of the protest was done in Port Harcourt metropolis. So it became very easy for the police to manage. The protesters started as early as 8 o'clock. They gathered at one of the strategic stations in the metropolis, and from there other groups joined them, and they went straight to the government house where they also make their demands known to the governor. who in turn told them that he will relay it to the president. They also, after they moved to other strategic places and also moved to NTA Port Harcourt, where they also made their views known. And basically what they were demanding is that fuel should return back to the price that it will be affordable for all Nigerians. And they are also saying that the government should be committed in creating jobs for the youth. So these were some of the major demands that they made in Port Harcourt. But there was no casualty, there was no any problem, and the police were very professional in handling the situation. In fact, we discovered that all the divisional police officers and other police officers followed them to all the areas where they moved to. So it was a very peaceful process here in Port Harcourt.
All right, thank you so much, Robinson, the Retidy there. And it's good we're getting good reports. You know, we had that from Lagos and also from Port Harcourt now that the police, you know, conducted the whole situation properly. Thank you, Robinson. All right, let's ponder on some of these thoughts. Let's go on a break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar, has appealed to protesters and all the stakeholders to sheath their swords and come to the table for dialogue to avoid further escalation of violence. He called on imams and leaders to use the Friday sermons to pray for the country at this moment of grief and to equally urge the Ummah to embrace peace, which he describes as an essential tool for development. The Sultan implores the president to address the nation, while state governors should also calm nerves, as silence is no longer golden at this moment of anxiety. All right, we want to show you right now how, you know, events played out. We showed you earlier on from the southern state. Let's see how events played out from the northern states. And Joshua Ojito will be our guide.
From Kaduna, it was a peaceful protest, but paralyzed business activities in the state capital. However, the situation is not the same in Kano as the protest turned violent and the state government declared a 24-hour curfew in the state to prevent breakdown of law and order. Residents of Kebbi joined the nationwide protest and it was peaceful, but the protest turned violent in Jega and Yauri towns. The Yobe state government declared 24-hour curfew in Potoskum, Gashua and Nguru following violent protest. The situation was the same in Bauchi and Gombe as the protest turned violent. The Benue state government commended the people of the state for not participating in the protest, as the atmosphere in the state remained peaceful. The protest in Dutse, the Jigawa state capital, turned violent, while the people of Yola, Adamawa state, staged a peaceful protest, just as Sokoto remained calm. Protesters marched through streets of Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, peacefully, while the situation in Maraba, Karuluku government area of the state, was not the same as the protest turned violent. Business activities went unhindered in Mina, the Niger state capital, as residents went about their lawful business, just as protest in Katsina was also peaceful. In Borno State, government declared a 24-hour curfew to forestall breakdown of law and order, while Lokoja remained peaceful.
Let's head now to Lokoja to join our correspondent, Jonathan, who is standing by. Jonathan, we hear most of the time today, earlier today, we hear there was, you know, calm and peace and most of the parts are visited, but you were there on ground, so tell us, what changed or nothing changed? Tell us.
Well, really nothing changed. One thing I can tell you is that residents of Lokoja will retire to their beds tonight with a prayer that the peace they enjoy today doesn't elude them even in the days ahead. They woke up this morning with a sense of apprehension, especially when news started filtering in from other parts of the country. But of course, everything was under control. We went out and we hardly saw any cluster of protesters. Of course, it's been like that, and even till this moment as I speak to you, there is free movement of people without fear, and the expectation is that it will go on like this.
All right, Jonathan, thank you for that update. And we hope you stay safe out there. But even though it's calm and peaceful there, please do us that favor to stay safe. Thank you. All right. We hear activities at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, were without major hitches as air travelers were coming in and out of the airport in a calm and peaceful atmosphere from the early hours of today. A visit by NTA revealed that though there was a low turnout of passengers due to fear and uncertainty caused by the activities of protesters in some parts of the FCT, normal flight operations went smoothly with travelers catching their scheduled flights. Correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports that at both the domestic and international wings of the airport, activities were going on steadily, as staff of the airport and members of various aviation unions were all on ground conducting their daily activities. Efforts by members of the press to gain access into the main terminal building were denied due to what officials described as security reasons. The airport manager, Gambo Abuki, confirmed that the protest did not affect any of the activities as flights were adhered to their initial schedules. All right, earlier you saw the Inspector General of Police, brief the media, talking about the state of the police, going by what is happening across the country. Now, he called for citizens to observe that civic responsibility, be patriotic, if you want to put it that way, and also urging protesters, that is genuine protesters, to step down so that those who are the criminal elements, perpetrating this violence can be dealt with head on. And of course, he also said the police is put on red alert. So people who want to go out and ensure that, they're conducting their protest in a peaceful manner should restrict themselves to the confined spaces or spots, designated for the protest. All right, let's see that.
We wish to advise law-abiding citizens of Nigeria to heed and not dismiss warnings given by the police and other security agencies which were based on credible and actionable security intelligence. In the light of the current situation, the Nigerian Police Force has placed units on red alert. Our officers are fully mobilized and prepared to respond swiftly and decisively to any further threats to public safety and order. We remain committed and resolute to protecting lives and property and ensuring that law and order are maintained across the nation. Groups who are hiding under the guise of exercise of a right provided in the Constitution to destabilize the country should also remember that the same Constitution imposed on them the duty to obey the laws of the land and respect the rights of other citizens. The police is equipped to respond appropriately to the unfolding situations and will get assistance from other security agencies, including the military, if the need arises. We appeal to all citizens to remain calm and cooperate with the police and other security agencies during this challenging period. Your safety is our top priority, and we will continue to take all necessary measures to ensure continued peace and stability in our country.
All right, the Inspector General of Police there, Kayode Ekbetokun, briefing the media that was earlier today on the state of the nation. We turn to another pressing issue, of course, the fuel situation in the country. We hear most petrol stations in the Federal Capital Territory have remained closed, while those who opened earlier today had to shut down following security report. Lydia Sampson has that for us.
Most petrol stations, cautiously either offering skeletal services earlier in the morning, closed following what they called security directive. However, many others did not even bother to open for business.
From the inquiry I got from there, they said they've been selling previously, but today they want to observe the situation, that they might reopen. But we are hoping. My car can't move back to the office. I can't move. It's already giving me a sign that it will stop me at any point.
Industry players who spoke off camera say they are just being careful due to the volatility of their business to make sure their businesses are protected from hoodlums who might want to hijack a projected peaceful process to unleash lawlessness. Meanwhile, President of the Independent Petroleum, Marketers Association of Nigeria, Shetima Megandi, has urged IBMAN members not to participate in any protest, but go about their lawful business.
We wanted to call the attention of all our members of independent petroleum marketers that they should not participate in the 10 days protest. All our members should be fully in their business, open their filling stations, and started selling products so that to eradicate scarcity.
He applauds President Bola Tinubu for laudable initiatives in the oil and gas sector, urging Nigerians to be patriotic and patient for government policies to manifest. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
We'll go on another break. We'll be back with more reports shortly. Thank you for staying tuned. A group of 50 members of the House of Representatives have described as premature calls for the removal of the group chief executive officers of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed. The lawmakers, under the aegis of concerned members of the 10th Assembly, emphasized that probe of the oil and gas sector by the Joint House Committees on Midstream and Downstream Petroleum is ongoing and a final decision was yet to be reached.
However, our attention has been drawn to some media report calling for the removal of Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL and the Chief Executive Officer of NMDPRA, while the above investigation is still subsisting. We wish to state that it is in the parliamentary culture to afford parties in investigation the right for fair hearing.
They also expressed concern about the ongoing protests in the country and appealed for an end to the protests.
We therefore call on all Nigerians to be patient and law-abiding in the expectation of a better Nigeria.
In other news, former Zanfara State Governor and now National Assembly member representing the State West Senatorial District, Senator Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar, has reaffirmed his confidence in the ability of the Tinubu's administration to address the prevailing socio-economic challenges facing the country. Senator Yari made the remarks while addressing Zanfara State APC stakeholders at his hometown. Talata Mafara, correspondent Jamilu Ibrahim will tell us more.
The planned nationwide protest, which has been ostensibly triggered by the prevailing socio-economic challenges facing the country, continues to be the topical national issue that attracts the attention of all stakeholders. As a grassroots politician who has always been in touch with his people, former Zanfara State Governor and now National Assembly member representing the State West Senatorial District, Senator Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar, is in his constituency to specifically meet with the APC stakeholders from across the 40 local government areas of the state on this burning issue. The meeting held at the lawmaker's hometown Talata Mafara drew participants from the party executives, elders, youths and women leaders from the state, local government and the wards levels. Senator Yari, who addressed the participants on what he described as the true state of the nation, says as a leader and representative of the people, he is fully aware of the untold hardship being experienced by the common man. He, however, affirmed that the protest is never the answer to the challenges confronting the nation, but will rather hold in the situation.
We have a typical example of Libya, what happened. We have it in Sudan, we have it in Syria, we have it in Iraq, and we have seen the result. And those that are sharing money, supporting the protest to take place, I doubt very, very much if they are doing it for the best interest of masses of Nigeria.
Senator Yari therefore appealed to the APC supporters and Nigerians at large to be more patient with the situation.
And I believe strongly that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying his best, and what we needed, as he said, is only time.
Some Zanfara State APC leaders who spoke at the event described the meeting as very timely, even as they affirmed that the party supporters in the state are vehemently opposing the proposed nationwide protest. Meanwhile, the message delivered at the meeting is expected to be passed across to every nook and cranny of Zanfara State soonest, as the participants were drawn from each of the 147 wards of the state. From Talata town headquarters of Talata Mafara local government area of Zanfara State, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
A look at education. Nigeria and indeed Africa must move past the long-standing idea of limited access to quality education and shift towards sustainable action that can build a strong foundation for the continent's development. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu stated this while unveiling 200 Nigerian students who are the maiden beneficiaries of the Outer NEPAD and African School of Economics scholarships facilitated by the Renewed Hope Initiative. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
Reuben Godswill has a dream, and that is to become an economist. But that dream was heading for the rock due to financial difficulties that saw two of his siblings dropping out of school.
There's been a lot in the families since we lost our dad, so my mom has been taking care of everything.
Now, along with Jack, Patricia, and 198 others drawn from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, Reuben is on his way to African School of Economics as an RHI scholar with no worries about school expenses.
It gives the financial aid that I need to do what I have to do.
The scholarship is a product of a strategic partnership between Nigeria's First Lady's Renewed Hope Initiative and African Union Development Agency, Outer NEPAD, as well as the African School of Economics. Unveiling the awardees, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu says the partnership was created to give equal opportunity of access to the highest global standards of tertiary education to the brightest young Nigerians.
The school I learned is a sister institution to Princeton University in the United States of America that is reputable for providing top-tier standards in education and research, in keeping with our requirement for our scholarship recipients to be taught at the highest global levels.
This year being the African Union's Year of Education.
For Outer NEPAD, education is a catalyst to transform Africa, and the partnership with RHI will help to build torchbearers and innovators for the continent.
In the first phase, Nigeria will receive €2 million to support work on the demographic dividend and sexual and reproductive health.
Some time ago, we made some offers of scholarships for your office to handle. Having had additional scholarships now in our budget, I want to announce that you can also have 4,000 more.
Together we can. Yes, definitely we can. We can build the Nigeria and Africa of our dream.
Recipients of the scholarship awards will be enrolled by September this year to study in about 26 academic programs across different fields of study. In the State House, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
A look at agric. As part of Agricultural Development Plan, Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo has empowered 500 women and youths in livestock productivity and resilience to support and enhance sustainable economic growth and livelihoods across the 21 local government areas of Kogi State. Ajibola Christopher's report is here presented.
Livestock productivity and resilience support LPRES project is a notable step in the country's efforts towards food security and economic prosperity. This initiative aligns with Kogi State Administration's medium and long-term plans to make the state a center of livestock production in the country.
All beneficiaries will get the sum of 100,000 naira each as logistics support for their various businesses, and the service provider will be immediately energize the supply all your input depending on your selected poultry value chain.
So far, 500 women and youth have been given opportunities to transform their lives and drive the poultry sector forward.
Kogi State is going to be an epic center of livestock production in this country.
Kogi State LPRES will give them
point of lay and sufficient feeds to last them for the next 6 months. And for the marketer, we are going to give them a deep freezer, a generator, and frozen chicken as a business startup.
The Livestock Productivity and Resilience Project is a 6-year initiative with support from the World Bank.
On World Breastfeeding Week, as nursing mothers defied the nationwide protest to attend the World Breastfeeding Week in Abuja, stakeholders have been reminded of the collective efforts needed to support and promote breastfeeding. The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, who spoke through Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Daju Petroleum, expressed federal government's commitment to supportive policies and practices that will aid breastfeeding mothers. The Breastfeeding Week is also launched this day, August 2024, marking the beginning of a worldwide campaign to promote and support breastfeeding workplace policies. This year's theme tagged Closing the Gap, Breastfeeding Support for All. Officials say the program will focus on survival, health, and well-being. It is hinged on the need to improve breastfeeding support to reduce inequalities that exist in societies, with special focus on emergencies and crises.
Breastfeeding from 0 to 6 months and to 2 years of age.
Therefore, we must adequately support our women, our mothers, our sisters, our aunties to breastfeed.
All right, let's take one more break. We're back shortly. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. All right, let's delve right to sports. Ayo Deji Makinde is already standing by. Ayo, I hear Team Nigeria is set to participate in athletics starting tomorrow, right?
That's absolutely correct, and all eyes will be on what they will be doing in track and field events. But before we get into the main gist that will start tomorrow, let's tell you that Nigeria lost its second game of women's basketball, 75 to 54 points to host France. The Tigress recorded their first victory at the Olympics in 20 years against FIBA World number 3. Australia dragged France in the first quarter before losing 24 to 20 points. Defending bronze medalist from the Games 4 years ago, France hit top gear in the remaining quarters, going up 14-11, 16-8 and 21 to 15 points. Nigeria play Canada on Sunday at 12:30 in the afternoon with victory, guaranteeing a quarter-final spot. Let's also notify you that Simone Biles has won gold medal for Team USA in women's artistic individual all-round. The 27-year-old gymnast secured 59.131 points in vault, uneven bars, beam and floor exercise for a second individual gold medal in Paris, ahead of Rebecca Andrade of Brazil and American Seniza Lee. Away from the Olympic Games, FIFA will discuss football calendar with the bodies threatening legal action over plans to host 32-team club World Cup at the end of next season. European leagues representing 39 leagues in 33 countries and Global Players Union FIFPro announced the action over what they described as FIFA's abuse of dominance, which continues to impact players due to additional number of games to football season. And that's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
All right, thank you very much, Ayodeji. I look forward to tomorrow's games, actually. And thank you so much for being part of Network News tonight. We do appreciate your company. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Good night.